Hey everyone, happy Tuesday? Tuesday. Yes, it's Tuesday. Um, I realize I haven't really been checking to see if these are working at all, so hope that someone will tell me if they don't, but who knows? Anyway, yeah, it's Tuesday. As I feel like I should stop pretending I'm gonna prepare for these because, like, this is how it always is with me. The first one, I'm the most paranoid, so I do the most work. And then, like, the more I do it, the less prepared I am. So, yes, I have been playing Final Fantasy VII Remake and not doing anything other than I did make this graphic today. Can tell I put a lot of time and effort into it. But that was about it for my preparation. As for the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I know you're all dying to hear my continued thoughts on, I think I like it better now, but I'm also worried that I'm developing some kind of Stockholm syndrome where, like, it's not actually better, I'm just locked in with it and growing fond of it despite its many faults. I did turn down to the easy mode. I can't remember if I'd done that already when the last time I was complaining about it, but that has helped because now basically the computer does all the work in the fights for me, or the vast majority of it, and I no longer have to feel bad, like worry that I can't dodge or block or position my character correctly because the computer does that for me. Which is, like, not good from a game perspective. Like, you know, I have played the original Final Fantasy VII countless times, and I never had any trouble with that combat system because that was me kissing the cat if that was picked up by the audio. It's not exactly that Final Fantasy VII is easy because there are plenty of challenging parts and, tough battles, but the skill level was not in reacting to things or doing things quickly or having reflexes, because which is good because that's the stuff I'm bad at. And so the skill set to play the Final Fantasy VII remake does not feel like it's the same skill set there was to play Final Fantasy VII, which is fine, it's a remake, but it's kind of frustrating for me, someone who felt like I was decent at Final Fantasy VII, and now I'm bad and need computer assistance at Final Fantasy VII Remake. I am getting to the more interesting parts, I think. It's another tough thing where, like, it's a remake, and it's a remake of a very small portion of the game, so, like, it feels like everything takes forever because I know how much faster I would have been doing stuff in the original game, so it's like, I know the next plot point, and it will take me 7 years to get there because now there's 20 more things to do in this area that had literally nothing before. And, in some ways that should be a good thing. I don't know. I hope y'all know to, like, skip this part if you're watching later. Just, like, give it a couple minutes, ignore this part, move on. Only I'm sure there's some way on YouTube that I can flag when the content starts so you could more easily skip it, but we all know how good I am at doing things. Anyway, I'm hoping that sometime in the next day or two I will get to the character I want to get to. Which, again, in the original game I know it would be like, oh, a couple more hours, but in this game it could be days or weeks. I don't know if I'd like it better if I hadn't played the original and wasn't always comparing it. Like, I certainly wouldn't be like, oh, well, you know, I'm in this part and I feel like I should already be going to this part because I wouldn't know what the parts were. And I would be like, oh yeah, I'm just playing this game. This is how this game goes. But I also don't know, like, if I didn't have the complicated love-hate relationship with the first game that I do, if I would have even, like, stuck with this past the frustrating battles and the stuff that seemed boring to me. So that's something that I really can't make my mind up about. So again, I feel like it's likely Stockholm Syndrome, but a lot of people like the game. I'm on a forum where we were talking about video games, and like everyone else who was playing it was like, oh, I love this, it's so nostalgic, it's so fun. Some people even enjoy the battle system. And I was like, oh, not me. I'm the one who doesn't. So maybe I'm also bending to peer pressure. I don't think that's it. I mean, even before I had that conversation, I was still playing it a whole lot. So, like, there is something compelling about it. Again, Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing's good. We're real happy Bunny Day is over, as I mentioned. I think last time it was the last Bunny Day. So it's been really nice just fishing and not getting eggs, and when balloons come, they're all things I want. I'm working on redoing my island so that it's a bit better organized, have a residential district, get some like cool elevation stuff going. I want to get my flowers in order so that they're actually like efficiently breeding instead of a giant jumbled mess. So yeah, there are things in my life that aren't video games, but they're not particularly interesting to rant about. So, this is what I have chosen for killing time at the beginning of my stream. And I apologize for that, but I figure it's probably better than like long awkward silences. Yeah. I think this fic is around 3,000 words. I should double check that and get it open. Yeah, it's just about 3,300 words, so probably going to be here 20 minutes, half an hour. Nice and quick. And here's the cat, so let's get started. This is Roped Up, Tied Up, Dead in a Year, which, if you haven't watched Community, that is from the opening theme song, and that's why it's called that. How have you never been in a fight? It's Monty who asks, but everyone seems to be wondering, and Bellamy has to admit it's a valid question. He knows he seems like the type who would get in a lot of fights. And none of them have really gotten to the level of unlocking his tragic backstory, so he has so far been able to avoid mentioning that he woo, this is why I should read ahead so that I can get rid of these words that don't actually belong in the story. And none of them have really gotten to the level of unlocking his tragic backstory, so he's so far been able to avoid mentioning that he was on the straight and narrow for his best fistfight years to keep social services from realizing just how fucked up his home situation was. Part of him still feels like he should have been fighting against the entire world. Part of him wanted to, but it's not really that he's more a lover than a fighter, it's that he is, above all else, pragmatic, and fighting was never practical for him. He had to keep Octavia safe, and fighting wouldn't have. How many fights have you been in? He shoots back. Have you met me? Monty asks. Have you met Jasper? We've been getting beaten up since second grade. We're used to this. Do those really count as fights? Clark asks, not looking up from her textbook. If you don't fight back, it's just a beating. How effective does the resistance have to be to count as a fight? Monty asks. I got really good at kneeing them into the groin and running. Yeah, that seems like a solid plan, says Raven. You should do that tomorrow. I think you should be considering nonviolent alternatives, Luna says, right on cue. The guy literally told me he was going to fight me, Bellamy points out. I don't think there's a nonviolent alternative when someone says they'll rip your heart out through your ribcage. Which is a really stupid threat, Clark adds. Bellamy's so glad she's just pretending to not pay attention to this conversation, instead of actually not paying attention. Your ribcage is basically there to protect your heart. There are better ways to go in if you want to rip it out. Thanks, Princess. What I really need here is someone telling me how to get someone's heart out of their body. I've played a lot of Mortal Kombat, says Jasper. That's definitely how fights end. Then you eat it to gain his power, Monty adds. No, you behead people to gain their power, says Raven. Raisin? Ugh. Only if you're immortal. Otherwise, heart eating. Monty turns his attention back to Bellamy. Are you immortal? Is the guy you're fighting? If he's never been in a fight, he probably doesn't know if he's immortal, says Clark. You find out the first time you die, so he should let this guy kill him to see if he's immortal, and then if he is, he can take his head. And with it his power, says Monty. Yeah, that sounds perfect. Do that. Bellamy puts his head down on the table. Does anyone have any useful advice, or am I on my own? I'm so glad you asked, says a voice, and he jerks up to see Roan. Bellamy doesn't know Roan very well yet. He's a new addition to the study group, and Bellamy hasn't worked that hard to get to know him. For which there could be all kinds of valid reasons, but if he's honest, he knows it's mostly because Clark brought Roan into the group, and he's just a little bit jealous. "What do you know about fighting?" Clark asks, looking up from her notes so she can frown at him. "More than the rest of you put together," he says, which does seem distressingly plausible. Everyone else is useless. Roan might actually be his only hope. "So are you going to help?" he asks. "Of course. Anything for a friend of Clark's." "Wait, is Roan giving fighting lessons?" asks Jasper. "I want fighting lessons." Luna looks perturbed. "You aren't actually doing this, are you?" The question is a valid one. He's 30 years old. He's an adult. He should not, in any universe, be getting into a fight with a bully behind the gym. Just because it's a community college gym instead of a high school one, that doesn't really make it better. If anything, it makes it worse. He knew better than to get in fistfights when he was 15, and he shouldn't be regressing. But he glances at Monty and Jasper. "How much did you guys get beat up when you were in high school?" "Basically nonstop," says Jasper. "And no one ever stood up for you?" he asks, turning his focus to Monty. They're a lot younger than he is, actually following the usual progression for college in that they're here directly after high school, and he can't help brothering them. He brothers. It's what he does. "It's not a big deal," says Monty. "Bellamy's got a thing for protecting damsels in distress," says Raven. "Belling up to save the princess." Clark's looking at her work again, so Bellamy manages to flip Raven off without her noticing. Raven just beams. "Yeah, we're doing this," he finally says. If he doesn't go, the assholes might take it out on Monty and Jasper. And if he ever sees them again, they won't let him hear the end of it. "I'm in your hands," he tells Roan, and Roan smirks. "Excellent. I'm glad to hear it." "I wasn't really picturing this with an audience," Bellamy grumbles. "We're not an audience," says Jasper. "We need to learn too," says Monty, "so we can protect ourselves." "I'm an audience," says Clark. "Think I'm going to miss out on you and Roan beating each other up?" "I'm putting it on YouTube," says Raven. "No, you're not," says Bellamy. He huffs. "Okay, hit me. Metaphorically. Tell me what I should be doing. Don't film this, Raven," he adds, and smiles as Clark snags her phone. Thank God for Clark, seriously. "First," says Roan, with great ceremony, "your opponent will try to intimidate you. In my experience, most males begin by taking off their shirts." "You should definitely do that," says Raven. "For sure," adds Monty. Roan ignores them. "Now, your natural inclination is going to be to take off your own shirt in response." "No, it's definitely not," says Bellamy. Roan ignores him too. He's in some kind of zone. "This isn't a good instinct. They're expecting that. This is your first chance to throw your opponent off balance." "You should probably show him," Clark says. "Take your shirt off, Bellamy." Bellamy glances over his shoulder, and Clark gives him a sunny smile. "Learn by doing, right?" "She's right," says Roan, and honestly, if Clark wants to see him take his shirt off, he's not going to deprive her. He tugs his t-shirt over his head and raises his eyebrows at Roan, who gestures for him to throw it on the floor. "So this is what I shouldn't be doing, right?" he asks. "Exactly. You've given me the advantage." And then he picks up Bellamy's shirt and pulls it on over his own. There's something magical about a real, honest-to-God awkward pause. There's so many silences in life, and it's amazing how obvious it is, sometimes, the sound of a lot of people not speaking, instead of just being quiet. Finally, Monty says, "That does increase your armor class." "Yeah, what's the AC for cloth armor versus bare skin?" asked Jasper. "The more shirts you can get, the better your armor will be." "Yeah, but it's gonna start restricting your movement at some point." "You could probably figure out an equation for that," Raven interjects. "Like, how many shirts can you wear before you lose more mobility than you gain defense?" "I could just wear armor," Bellamy points out. "I have armor." It's the wrong thing to say. Clark lights up like it's Christmas and several of her birthdays together, and Monty and Jasper look about as excited. For once, he's grateful to Roan for stepping in. "Don't wear armor," he says. "Never show your fear. Keep them off balance. That's the key." And the first step is stealing their shirt. And then you give them the eye. I can't believe you're not letting me film this, Raven grumbles. If I knew there was going to be shirtlessness, I would have let you, Clark says, and Bellamy's pretty sure he flushes with pride. Roan punches him in the shoulder, light, like a reminder. Pay attention, he says. If you lose focus, you're gonna get your ass kicked. I'm starting to think you don't know that much about fighting, Bellamy says. So far, your only advice is to steal the other guy's shirt and pay attention. I could have figured that out. You wouldn't have thought to steal the other guy's shirt in a million years, Raven points out, and rightly so. I'm not convinced that's the psychological advantage Roan thinks it is. What if they don't take off their shirts? I saw that guy, says Clark. He's definitely going to take off his shirt. Not to be that bi, but I'm pretty sure that about half of macho posturing and fighting is just a cover for latent same-sex attraction. That bi? Bellamy asks. I'm trying to make it a thing. You can use it if you want. He considers. Is that going to give me an advantage? Like, I know I'm into guys, so I'm not distracted making sure I feel sufficiently heterosexual. I bet you'd really freak him out if you started hitting on him, she says, and he grins. If his shirt's already off, I have the perfect opening to start touching his arms and asking about his workout routine. Yeah, wow, I can't wait for this fight, says Clark, tapping her pen on her chin. You steal a guy's shirt, and then, when he's distracted, start flirting. You're gonna get your ass kicked. Thanks for your support. Don't worry, I have medical training, she says with half a smile. I won't let you die on my watch. It shouldn't make him feel warm and fuzzy, but he's basically given up on appropriate emotional responses to Clark. He's into her, like really into her. It's fine. I feel so much better, he says, and at least it comes out like sarcasm. He turns his attention back to Roan. Okay, come on, let's do this. That's a lot of guys, Clark says. Yeah, Bellamy agrees. There are like 5 of them, but he assumes only one of them will actually be fighting, unless Bellamy has backup too. That's how it works, right? There's no honor in a 5-on-1 fight. And obviously, guys who bully kids in the cafeteria care deeply about the rules of engagement. Think about how many shirts I'm going to be wearing. That's really the opposite direction of what I want to do, think about when it comes to you and shirts, she says, absent, still watching the guys. He'd like to press her on the point. How often does she think about him in shirts anyway? But he does have other things to do. You really are going to get your ass kicked. I thought I was kidding. Maybe one of them will want to make out and the others will turn on him. Yeah, definitely use your sexuality as a weapon. I feel like that's my only real move. But then I should be shirtless too, right? If you're wearing like 5 shirts, it's definitely not going to be hot, yeah. It's going to be incredibly hot. I'll die of heat stroke. I'll tell people you went down in battle. Thanks. The campus clock starts chiming 3, and the guy, Bellamy is about 90% sure his name is Dax, steps forward and roars. Like, actually roars, like he's been picked in a fighting game. So yeah, I'm gonna die. Tell my sister I love her. I said I wasn't gonna let you die, and I meant it. She holds out her hand, and he gives her his glasses. He was sort of expecting more people to be here on his side, but Luna set up some sort of non-violent protest to his fight, so he assumes they're getting food first. And he can't really blame them. At least Clark came. She's the important one. I knew you liked me, he says, and Dax rips his shirt off. Guess that's my cue. Good luck. The thing is, he doesn't have a better idea than just doing what Roan told him to, so he grabs Dax's shirt and pulls it on. Dax looks genuinely confused and alarmed, so score 1 for Roan. He follows it up with the stink eye, and Dax returns it, and then he's at a loss because he honestly does not know how to just punch someone. It feels kind of weirdly rude, even though Dax called him here to fight. He's an adult, and granted, he's not a very good adult, but he still has some trouble with the idea that he should be solving his problems by punching some asshole in the face. Which actually leaves him in an even more awkward position, because now he's just behind the gymnasium, not wearing his glasses and wearing someone else's shirt, failing to punch a guy while the girl he has a thing for watches. This community college thing is really not going like planned. So, he starts, and then Dax does punch him hard in the jaw, and he staggers back. Jesus fuck, he explains, and punches back without really thinking about it. So apparently that's what it takes to get him in a fight. Someone else just has to start it. Which sucks because all of his half an hour of weird backroom training with Rowan was about getting the upper hand, and he has squandered his entire advantage. Or, well, okay, not his entire advantage. With deliberation, he licks the corner of his mouth, which is bleeding a little. So, is this as hot for you as it is for me? He asks with half a smirk, and throws in a wink for good measure. What does he have to lose? Did you call them when it became clear I was going to die, or did they just show up? Bellamy asks. He's sitting on their usual table in the library while Clark dabs at his eye with a warm washcloth. He has a black eye. He hasn't had a black eye since he was in second grade and Andy Porter hit him with his elbow when they were playing soccer in gym class. Also, his jaw hurts and his shoulder hurts, and at least one of those guys was bi-curious and definitely now thinks Bellamy has some kinks he does not have. I was texting Raven the whole time, Clark says, but I didn't tell them to run until he punched you. When did you start punching people? He asks, squinting at her with his remaining good eye. She looks pretty good for having been in a fight, which makes him feel better. Plus, they're alone and she's patching him up, as promised. It might just be the mild concussion talking, but he's feeling pretty good about his life. Right after you did, says Clark. I'm not really surprised you trying to hit on him got him throwing slurs, but fuck that. I wasn't just gonna let him get away with it. She grins. And they really weren't ready to hit a girl, so that helps. Who says chivalry is dead, he mutters. Thanks for the rescue. I didn't really think you'd do it, she admits. Or he wouldn't. I figured it would just be ridiculous. Bellamy grins, and his lip definitely splits on it. It was completely ridiculous. I'm wearing 4 shirts. Clark laughs. I can't believe you kept doing that. It distracted them. They were so confused every time. And Roan only got 2. He must be so jealous. The spoils of war. He wets his lips. What's this actually doing? The towel on my eye. Making me feel better. Hopefully making you feel better too, but mostly me. It feels encouraging. He raises his hand up to cover hers and smiles at her as best he can given his current state. I'm fine, Clark. I'm not going to kiss you because your lip is split open, she says, but she slides her hand down so she's cradling his face, and he leans into it and squeezes her fingers. Is that not a turn-on for you? Guys with black eyes and split lips who are wearing 4 t-shirts? It's like you've seen my Pornhub search history. She leans in to brush her nose against his. Seriously, I think you shouldn't get in any more fights. Jasper and Monty can take care of themselves. You know that's not true. I think we can settle our problems without violence. I think I can just let Roan fight for me from now on. Assuming you don't need your boyfriend to be some badass who steals people's shirts and punches them while they're confused. My boyfriend, huh? Once my lips isn't split open, he says, and she pecks him on the side of the mouth, quick. Just promise you'll take your shirt off for me more than you'll put extra shirts on. He laughs and then winces because his body doesn't care that he's stupidly happy. It just knows it's in incredible pain. Whatever, it'll get over it. I think I can promise that, yeah. Awesome. She pulls back and offers him her hand. Come on, you should come to my place, so I can monitor you. You're the expert, he says, and lets her tug him up. Lead the way. Because their college is genuinely fucked up, it's less than 3 months before some other dude is taking off his shirt and demanding that Bellamy fight him. How does this keep happening to you? Clark asks. Bellamy looks at the shirt. It's going to be really tight on him. The guy is very tiny and very angry. I've just got one of those faces, I guess. Do you hit girls? What? Asks the kid. This is my girlfriend, he says. She fights all my battles for me. I'm basically a coward. I'm just going to steal your shirt, honestly. That's my thing. The kid is looking increasingly confused. You want me to fight your girlfriend? Kind of, yeah. Clark smiles and offers her hand. Hi, I'm the girlfriend. Bellamy waits until the guy shakes before he says, Cool, glad you guys are getting along. I'm just going to take your shirt and go. You two have fun. He doesn't actually leave, of course, but he goes out of sight and watches until Clark leaves the guy, who still looks completely baffled by the whole exchange, which was basically Bellamy's plan. Thanks for not putting on another shirt, she says, leaning up for a kiss. I understand the terms of our relationship, yeah. Did he do anything? He told me to call him if I ever wanted to date a real man. Nice of him. He drapes his arm over her shoulders and nuzzles her hair. Nuzzles her hair. I think this is the right way to deal with fights. Steal their shirts and leave me to deal with it? It beats getting punched in the face. And hey, free shirt. Clark laughs. Wow, you really have it all figured out, huh? More every day, he says with a wry smile. You want to see how tight this shirt is on me? I really do, she says. And yeah, he's definitely getting the hang of this college thing. Okay, yeah, that was a tight 20 minutes. I'm on top of this. Yeah, that's a quick one. I'll be back on Thursday with more followers, I think. Yeah. But for now, I have to get back to my horrific relationship with Final Fantasy VII, the remake. So I apologize for all the ranting you'll get about that before the content you want kicks in. Have a good night, everyone. Stay safe.